Hello, everybody. It is the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Do subscribe, like, share, and if you would leave a comment. This was supposed to be live, but I've had a bit of a technical difficulty with my streaming service, so I'm going to have to get that ironed out. And I will tell you that tomorrow, Thursday, the 3rd of March, 332022. Tomorrow, Chris and I will have a conversation, our security and terrorism expert. And we talked before all of this began, and we're just going to kind of update where we're at now from what we had talked about before. And, a few other things I want to talk to him about as the situation progresses in the days progress. I shouldn't have said situation, as the days progress forward in the war after the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian army. Now, somebody on the ground in Ukraine, I asked about this, and they said, I asked something, and I said after the invasion, and they said, stop saying it's an invasion. This has been going on for a large number of years. This is just the latest aggression. Okay. And so I make that clear. And there's a lot to talk about. My gosh, there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to get to all of it as quick as we possibly can, because I value your time and I thank you for watching. If you're just joining, well, it's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. I'm not live, so chances are you're probably not just joining. Let's start out with Flight Tracker. Again, the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov over here, Kiev up here, Kharkiv over here, Lviv over here, Mariupol down here on the Sea of Azov. Mariupol is supposedly encircled and cut off. No heat, no power, no communications, and Metropolia right here is also supposedly encircled. Kherson right down here. Kherson is the first city that has fallen to the Russians formally. The mayor of Kherson was held at gunpoint and forced to sign over control of the city to a new regime. And oddly enough, the Soviet flag and the Russian flag were both raised. So the next target is right here in Odessa, right here where the cursor is. And supposedly ships are going to be launching from down here in Cyprus primarily. And the last intelligence I got was there were 14 ships on the way already. And most of them were amphibious landing craft. Now, don't think the Battle of Iwo Jima World War II movie where United States Marines are storming and they're going to take a beachhead. That's not what Russia has. They don't have Marines. They have there's a different term for them. Naval infantry, I think is the term they use. But anyway, it's not like they're trained to, they land and then they go and do what they, if they're confronted, they're not always prepared for those kind of things. So it will be interesting as Odessa is the third largest city. Kiev up here is the first largest city. Kharkiv right over here, which is only like 12 miles from the Russian border. and Odessa down here number 3, and then Lviv up here number 4. They're preparing in Lviv right now for potential invasion. Kharkiv last night, is, we showed you the thermobaric bomb. We showed you the first one from the day before. So for 2 days we've been talking about this, and mainstream media is starting to catch up with us that, oh my gosh, these things are being done. So look for Odessa to be a target tomorrow as far as what's going on within Ukraine. And I hate to keep harping on this, but until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to stay by my theory that Ukraine is a platform. Ukraine is a stage where all of this is playing out, and Ukraine is not the real target. Now there are, we'll get to all of that, but my flight tracker timed out. Let me go back and again, thank you all for watching, for hanging in here. Go back to flight tracker real quick. So the whole goal is to draw the United States in my opinion. Whether there was, I've also assumed that there was an agreement between China and Russia that they were going to draw the United States in and literally bring us to our knees, slit our throat, bleed us dry. It turns out we may be bleeding Russia dry. And we'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes as well. But China will hold a key to China will be the number 3 big player. We're going to talk about what happened at the UN today. We got a ton of information. I'm going to try to get through it as fast as possible, so hang there with me. While we are here on, I wanted to bring up Forte 10, Forte 10, which is right here at the moment. This is a drone that flies out of Sicily, and Forte 10 we've tracked this plane for a long time. There were probably a half an hour before I started recording, or before I was supposed to do the live. There were a couple of Black Hawk helicopters up right over this area of Krakow. So they're no longer there. This plane has been, this drone has been flying for a long time. And as you can see, it's basically keeping an eye along the border of Poland here, Belarus here, and then Ukraine down here. And they've made a couple of passes over to check on the North Sea, and again been flying for a long time. And well, hang on just a moment. I'm going to give you an idea of what one of these drones looks like, if I can. All righty. Okay. All right, I hope you're seeing this. This is, oh, I hope you're seeing this. This is one of the drones. It's called a Global Hawk. I'll tell you what, just if you're interested in seeing what it looks like, it's a fairly large drone. It's not like, you think you go out and launch in the backyard or something. And capable of 30 plus hours of flight. Forte 10 is currently flying at 54,100 feet. So at that height, you've got a long range of visibility. Plus, that's its specialty is long range visibility. So that in and of itself is a deterrent for any kind of launches from Belarus as far as missiles, and give a warning to Kiev. Now, Kiev has been under attack throughout this past night, and I'm really disappointed that I closed the Global Hawk window. So before we get to the really serious stuff of what's been happening, I wanted to start out with something a little more lighthearted. This is from eBay, used Russian T-72 tank. It's fully functional, 400,000 US dollars. Now that does not include shipping and handling. But and the Ukrainian government has come out and said any Russian military supplies that are sold, that you've confiscated and sold, you will not be charged tax for them. So and they have been pulling some of these vehicles out of with tractors, just hauling them back to their farms. And you might get the impression that gosh, Ukraine's really winning this war, and in some places they are, but you got to remember that if you're watching mainstream media, and if you're watching American mainstream media, you're getting what they want you to see. And while it's a great feel-good story, the reality of the situation is that it may not be just as it's presented to us on mainstream media. Just something to think about, as we always do here. I want to save this tweet for just a second here. I'm going to save that one too. And like I said, we've got a lot to talk about. Okay, my apologies here. I've not saved. Okay, I've not saved what I thought I had saved. There were 2 large explosions in Kyiv, 4 explosions in total, 2 of them very, very large. I've seen the videos of them. I don't have it at the moment. And presumably thermobaric, as we've seen in the past 2 days. So very troubling. We've been talking for a while about what these weapons are and what they can do. And really, there aren't a whole lot of steps. There aren't a whole lot of steps left to ratchet things up when you start using thermobaric. Number one, thermobaric is outlawed by the Geneva Convention, as are cluster bombs, which are also being used, which is a bomb that comes in and releases a bunch of other little bombs, and these little bombs will hit and bounce up and explode. I think they bounce like 5 or 6 feet off of whatever they hit, and when they impact, it sets off a detonator and an injector, and they go up and they explode and blow out. So incredibly deadly, both of which are outlawed by the Geneva Convention. And then above thermobaric, maybe cyber's above thermobaric, but I think cyber's probably a notch below thermobaric. And really the only thing, if you take out cyber as an option and you take out thermobaric as an option, you've either got chemical or nuclear as far as ratcheting things up. So I just want us to all think about that as I start to tell you what's happening and what's coming, the intelligence we have. Okay, this is going to refresh on me. Also, earlier today, and I thought I saved that, but actually I was talking about the blasts in Kiev, and I do have the video. This is from CBS News. He had just signed off the air when the first of the 2 blasts happens.
Here in Ukraine. Elaine? What the hell was that? I know. I don't know. It's almost like lightning. This is a big flash.
And then the second. You can see the fires burning back here, or the lights back here, I guess. And then you start to hear.
It was close. Close enough to see the flash. Here in Ukraine. Elaine?
Okay, that's CBS News correspondent. And okay, this came out just moments after. And from a totally different angle than you're going to see on mainstream media. You can see how similar it looks to what we saw yesterday, the day before that. Now, this is either a 1,000-pound conventional bomb or thermobaric. And the second bright spot, that's when, you know, all of the gas, all the oxygen sucked in, everything set on fire. That's always this. That's the second blast of the 2 you see. And we did hear it on this one as opposed to CBS. So wherever CBS was broadcasting from at that time, definitely close enough to see the blast or see the blast, but not close enough for sound, at least. And I would think that in that amount of time. I talked about Mariupol, and this is the report about electricity, heating, mobile internet communications, all down. It's basically isolated by the Russian military. 4 nations backed the Russian side in the war, and 35 would not condemn it. And I'm hoping the chart will come up here. Okay. Of course, your ads. As soon as you get rid of one, another one pops up. Okay, I thought there was a list here. Okay, here we go. 35 opted to stay neutral: Algeria, Angola, Armenia, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Burundi, Central African Republic, China, Cuba, the Republic of Congo, El Salvador, Equatorial Guinea, India, Iran, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Madagascar, Mali, Mongolia, Mozambique, Namibia, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Senegal, South Africa, South Sudan, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Tajikistan, Tanzania, Uganda, Vietnam, and Zimbabwe. And the ones that backing Moscow's motivation: Belarus, Eritrea, North Korea, and Syria. While Eritrea remains largely quiet on most international affairs, the other three nations have explicitly blamed the conflict not on Russian President Vladimir Putin, but on the eastward expansion of US-led NATO military. So that will have very little impact other than on the political realm, and possibly open up some dialogues and possibly even some sort of financial ramifications. Also, a cargo ship sailing under the Bangladesh flag was targeted by a missile of the Russian Navy. Here's a quick look at that. So, sorry. So that happened. For Russian, I think they were Su-24 fighter jets invaded Sweden's airspace today. And this is, we got airstrikes on a gas pipeline. Well, okay. I don't have the pictures of it, so I'm just going to tell you what happened. A Romanian MiG-21 fighter jet from Romania, a member of the NATO alliance, was flying in the Black Sea. We've talked a lot about the Black Sea and how the Russian Navy's there, and not all of the Russian Navy, but a lot of the Russian Navy is there. The MiG, the Romanian MiG-21, exploded over the Black Sea. A rescue helicopter, a Puma rescue helicopter with 5 to 7 passengers. It's unclear at the moment. This all happened not that long ago. Rescue helicopter also was destroyed, killing either 5 to 7 people. The pilot of the MiG-21 supposedly ejected, but they have not found him. And again, the plane exploded. Now, they're NATO members, and I'm not sharing any secrets here. There are a lot of people that know what happened, and it's blamed on bad weather. The reason it's blamed on bad weather is the United States is not going to go to war with Russia over a one jet and one helicopter from Romania. Romania doesn't have, this is just facts. This is not judgment. Romania does not have the geopolitical clout to force the issue and say, okay, we've been attacked, we're NATO come. They understand that if the United States is involved, it's World War III. So here's what the weather was at the actual time of the event. And jets don't crash in bad weather. It was an older jet. It was obviously, it was a MiG-21, a Russian made jet. And so Russia is probing. Russia is poking. Russia is trying to get the United States to attack. And again, I'm removing my bookmarks as I go here, obviously, as you can see, to get to the rest of these stories without it constantly refreshing. Russia is probing. Russia is trying to get America involved. Ukraine is not the objective, never has been the objective. It's you know, it's a stage, it's a platform, it's the action that is trying to get the response from the United States and the rest of, well, first of all, Putin didn't think the rest of the world would, the rest of the Western world, the majority of the rest of the Western world would unite as they have. He underestimated that. I underestimated that. I didn't think they would react as strongly as they have. I really didn't. I didn't think they'd go as far as they have on sanctions. And I didn't think that Putin would conduct this invasion as he has. And it's created a lot of things that unintended consequences that always come with war. You see here the offer by a Russian businessman. We're going to get into the ads again and stuff, but it's just going to be here real quick. Russian tycoon puts a $1 million bounty on Putin's head, and that was as of 6 p.m. this evening. So I don't have the Russian businessman's name now. He's in California now, and made his money in banking, I think. And he just basically said, look, I'm, you know, I feel morally obligated to offer this. So he has offered a $1 million bounty to any Russian military officer, or to be shared by Russian military officers that bring him Vladimir Putin, dead or alive. So again, 2022, you wouldn't think we would be talking about such things, but yes, and yet here we are. Now, earlier there was a report that Ukrainian special forces were just going to start killing Russian artillerymen on the spot. That too would have been a violation of the Geneva Convention. So they quickly changed the statement. And it says now that the command of Ukraine Special Operation Forces has warned that it will not spare Russian artillerymen in response to their brutal shelling. And I think I still have the original. Again, a lot of stuff I want to get through, and I thought I still had, I thought I still had the original tweet, and that's why I saved the correction. Okay. All right, I don't, all right, I must have deleted the original when I bookmarked the correction. So, the Ukrainians are filled with hate for Russia right now, justifiably so. This, again, as I like to try to do every a couple of times, at least once a day in one of the episodes a day, from the International Study of War. This came out probably about 5 hours ago now, 3 p.m. So almost 8 hours ago. There'll be a new update coming out in just a bit. At the top of the hour, actually 11 p.m. And the red areas are marked as Russian-controlled territory. Now, the problem with this is Russia controls, Russia controls Kherson, as we said today, and this is our part of the Donbass, and they've always controlled this. So while they control Kherson, do they control all of this red? Well, we know they control down here. We know they control down here in Crimea, but do they, they control sections of roads, they control partial, but I think this is a Western map. This is kind of how the West is portraying this as, there's this giant mass around Russia, or a mass of Russian troops laid out this way, when in fact it's not quite as all-encompassing as this makes it look. It's not near as all-encompassing of an occupation by Russia as this map is painting it. But nonetheless, it gives us an idea of where the advancements are going. And again, I'm saying Odessa is going to be a target tomorrow, probably, and then Lviv a day or 2 days after that, if things are still going. Again, thanks for hanging in here. I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. It's News Done Differently, the American Doofus Show. Getting rid of things so that when it does decide to refresh, we'll be on the same spot. The Russian ambassador of the United Nations 5 hours ago in Newsweek criticized the United States for overthrowing its legitimately elected president. Okay. First of all, you can just look at that guy's face and just know, yeah, I'm not going to be trusting you. Russia invokes Trump's stolen election claim in UN speech. He's got a lot of room to talk, first of all, because Russia, they have elections, and the only person on the ballot is Putin, and you either vote for him as president for life or you die. So he's carrying on false information there, obviously, and just trying to rile things up here, just trying to get the United States as divided as possible before they pull us into war. So far, so far we have not taken the bait. And NATO has been, again, we just talked about what happened with the Romanian MiG being shot down by Russian forces. I saw the explosion. I saw the crash of the helicopter. They weren't weather related, but we have to say they're weather related, because if we didn't, we would have to enforce a treaty. And a little secret, if you're a Native American, it's not a secret, but a little secret, the United States doesn't always honor all of our treaties. If it's in the United States' best interest, those treaties are incredibly important. But as far as taking treaties by the letter of the law, we don't have such a great history of that as a country. And I'm just saying that because it's a fact. And before teaching history gets erased, I'm going to be laying out a lot of facts. Russian media offers 3 plans for the future of Ukraine, and I wanted to show this because it kind of, well, is it going to open? Nope, it's not going to take me to the site. It's just going to take me back here to Twitter. Okay. I wonder why it won't let me go to the site. All right. This is what Moscow, this is what Russian media think should happen. They think, divide Ukraine into several parts. It's just always amazing to me how so many countries, so many people think they can decide what happens to other countries. And don't get me wrong, often they do. More oftentimes than not, they decide what's happening in other countries. But I don't know. You'll see a couple of Russian Su-25s in this. Again, I'm just showing this video because 4 of these planes penetrated Sweden's airspace today. Again, that's a violation of the NATO Charter and a violation of Sweden's no-fly zone. And it's another attempt at Russia to try to get us to engage, because the United States has always been the real objective. So the ordnance of whatever was dropped by one of the 2 jets. And if you look closely, you can tell it's an apartment building down here, I imagine was the target. Okay. Again, 4 of those planes flew into Sweden's airspace earlier this afternoon. Ukraine intelligence reports that Putin is going to impose martial law in Russia on March 4th. It's currently March 3rd in Russia now. So tomorrow or tomorrow night, look for that to happen. Currently, Russia has called up 6,000 army reservists and are having them report to the Kremlin. somebody that I get information from that still is in Russia and hasn't left yet, said that the parking lots around the Kremlin are all full of heavy armaments, and they're moving more tanks and more equipment in. And Russia has about 12,000 tanks in reserve. And I'm not going to call him my friend, but the person I'm in contact with, he's an American that's in Russia. He joked at the end, is this the Kremlin protecting the people, or is this the Kremlin protection from the people? So again, Putin is going to impose martial law in Russia on March the 4th. So that will be probably about this time, around this time tomorrow, about 24 hours from right now, if it doesn't happen before. It may happen before because protests are growing in Russia. I think there's been over 6,700 protesters arrested. If martial law is declared, there won't be any protests. There won't be any arrests as far as you're going to trial. You'll just be held. There will be curfews, and violation of anything, you'll probably be shot. So Russia is about to take a giant step backwards in time over the next 48 hours, unless somebody cashes in that Russian millionaires or Russian billionaires offer to bring him dead or alive. Iodine helps protect your thyroid from radiation, should you be anywhere near radiation. And in Central Europe, flying off the shelves, it's always a good idea to have a little bit of iodine, just in case. But there's a major run on it in Central Europe because Putin keeps suggesting that, nuclear. And I've been saying he's going to cross the line. And I talked to someone earlier today that said, I asked him, what are you doing? Oh, I'm listening to the explanation of how Putin is probably planning to deploy limited nuclear warheads. So it's no longer unthinkable. Okay. The unthinkable is no longer unthinkable. Again, don't dwell on it. But always be aware that it could happen. Okay. This is another person I follow, and he has a friend in Russia, and his friend said it's an absolute mess here. People are panicking. Things I didn't know could collapse are collapsing, but this is nothing to compare to what's happening in Ukraine to Ukrainians. That's why I'm going to an anti-war protest tomorrow. So again, these protests are growing, and as the protests grow, and as more truth comes into Russia through soldiers calling back home saying, hey, this is what's really happening once they've been captured, or through social media. The two sources of media that I normally referenced have both been taken down. They've both been off the air because they were talking about things that they weren't allowed to be talking about. Now this is something I'm not sure about, so I'm just bringing this up. Forward observation groups, FOGs, and supposedly founded by former U.S. Army Special Forces and they flew to Ukraine in January and currently located in Kyiv. So once again, this is not one of my normal trusted sources, but I thought I would mention it because the talk of Americans, America will not set boots on the ground. Well, there are already a lot of American citizens there, and plus there are more on the way to join the Ukrainian Foreign Legion. This was really no surprise to anyone. U.S. officials say China asked Russia to delay the war until after Beijing Olympics. Those of us that knew it was coming and was saying it was coming, and warmonger, fearmonger, blah blah blah, we knew it was coming. This is Kharkiv. This was about 7 hours ago now, and a targeted strike on a gas line just outside of Kharkiv, again the second largest city in Ukraine. And also this was where the thermobaric was dropped yesterday. Okay, now that is the thermobaric, I think, from a different distance. I don't know, there have been so many explosions. Yeah, that's the thermobaric from a different distance. Who sent that? Okay. He's got the wrong title to that. We showed that 2 days ago. Senator Marco Rubio continues to tweet, and criminal dictatorships in Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua are enablers. Russia, for the first time, announced significant casualties. 498 Russian soldiers dead, 1,500 injured was what they said 10 hours ago. Ukrainian side is saying over 6,000 Russian soldiers have died. United States and independent countries are saying around 2,500. So any of them are too many as far as I'm concerned. Okay, this is there are nuclear power plants that use nuclear energy in Ukraine, and actually Chernobyl was in Ukraine before it blew up. It's still there, but it was an active provider of electricity, and you can see the Russians in the distance. Ukrainians are all none of them are armed. They're just out there to make sure they protect the power plant, basically. And you can see the makeshift barricades. They got tires piled up, whatever they could find to barricade and block the road. So incredible imagery that it's just I have to just keep telling myself that, this is 2020. We're not watching something from the past. Again, Rubio, they're questioning some of the mainstream media are upset that Rubio's sharing his information with us, which, you know, they think they ought to be the only ones to know anything. This I wanted to share with you. I talked about the treaties earlier. This basically says the Budapest Memorandum basically was Ukraine would give up their nuclear weapons in exchange for security. In 1994, to protect the territorial integrity of Ukraine, in exchange for Ukraine giving up its nuclear weapons. So basically, while the United States and everybody's, you know, looking for this formality of Putin to push hard enough to make us do something, we've been basically obligated by treaty since 1994 to do something. Now, the presidents before Biden haven't done anything either. So that's why Crimea and the Donbass region are both under Russian control. As soon as those things happened, we were obligated by treaty. The memorandum originally signed by the Russian Federation, United Kingdom, United States, China, and France. Of course, Russia's doing the invading, so you wouldn't expect them to honor the treaty, but it seems as if no one did. Just saying, something to think about. Now, if you're curious about what might happen once martial law takes place, this is a single protester in and a female, by the way. She was shouting peace to Ukraine, Putin to The Hague. The Hague is the international court. Take a look at this. I don't think it has volume. Okay, I talked about the other night. I talked about the Oman, and you'll see that right here. These are regular police. These are kind of like the Gestapo of the Nazi era, and the KGB of the Kremlin era, of the Soviet era, I should say, not Kremlin. Again, this is to subdue one woman. For protesting. And you notice the regular police will drop off when sorry, did I get to the end? Okay, it doesn't go all the way what I saw on the other one. The regular police drop off from carrying her, and the Oman, OMON, end up taking her to wherever. Hopefully we find out one day. But when you start thinking you don't have any freedoms in the United States, just take a look what's going on other places around the world and wise up. Okay, tomorrow, as I said, Ukrainian intelligence informed that Putin was going to put Russia under martial law tomorrow. The steps are being taken. He's going to do it under the guise that he's defending Moscow from an invasion and an attack from NATO. And as part of all this, Russia's educational ministry is rolling out a special campaign to ensure that the nation, especially its school children, understand that the war in Ukraine isn't a war. Okay, I'm going to make sure that everybody can see this. The ministry's broadcast scheduled for March 3 at noon. Okay, this is what went out this afternoon. Viewers will be informed about the background of today's events, about the danger NATO presents to our country, and why Russia rose to the defense of the civilian population of the Donetsk and Luhansk people. And they'll also learn how to distinguish truth from lies in the enormous stream of information, photographs, and video that fill the internet today. So basically saying, don't believe your eyes. Before the broadcast was announced, the federal government distributed teaching guidelines to schools across the country, explaining why Russia's operation in eastern Ukraine is not a war. In eastern Ukraine, okay, is not a war. They're still trying to sell that the only thing they're doing is they're coming to the defense of the civil populations of the Donetsk and Luhansk, right over here, the areas that Donetsk and Luhansk, this area that they had already controlled, Russia had already illegally controlled. Here's still the Ukrainian border. So they're trying to convince the Russian people that all this is going on right here in this little area, that it's all in Eastern Russia, and that nothing's happening anywhere else. Okay, just to give you a clear understanding of what is being explained here. The training materials claim that Russia's armed forces are not conducting air or artillery strikes at Ukrainian cities, and there is no threat to the civilian population. A source close to teachers union in Russia told Meduza that, Meduza is a news site, that instructors have been told to incorporate the new guidelines into their curriculum immediately and urgently. So according to materials, the educational ministry is asking school teachers to show President Putin's speech announcing the invasion to students and ask them questions based on his statements, such as formulate the main reason for the start of the special military operation to defend the Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics. So you ever want to know what propaganda is? You ever want to question the freedom of teachers to teach in schools? You ever want to be one of those people that goes, you know what, we're just this critical race theory, we are just not going to, we're just going to erase slavery from our history. We're just going to erase the Holocaust from our history. We're just going to erase anything that may make white people look bad from our history. That's going on. That's going on all across the country in numerous states. Indiana, believe it or not, just voted no. We're not going to do that. The Senate threw the bill out. Because it's a Republican Senate. I was shocked. It's not the case in other states. Other states are burning books. They're banning books. And here you see what happens when one person basically controls the education. This is in regards to last night's State of the Union. and how it's political theater, and how Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert have been cast in their roles. Their characters are just called Karen. Okay, Karen and Karen, but they've been cast into the roles. And we need to find out who's behind Explore Talent. Okay, Explore Talent. Guess what I'm going to be doing a little bit tomorrow. A lot of research on Explore Talent. And I probably have a pretty good idea what it's about, because when I first ran for office, I was brought out to a meeting and I was asked if I'd move to Louisiana. This was when I was running for state senate, a small state seat. I was asked if I'd move to Louisiana to run for a federal office, just because the way I looked and the way I sounded, and they knew I could win the area. That's not the way our government should work. But when you only have two private entities controlling the entire political process and thus the entire government, we need to wake up. We need to wake up. On that much, I agree with a lot of the right-wing people who aren't Trumpins. Trump and, of course, Trump-Putin combination. Yeah, I'm not going to show that. This video shows a guy getting his leg blowed off. This I want to talk about real briefly. I'm not sure how long I'm going because this isn't a live, and I'm just got a lot to talk about. Leaked documents from Russian troops showing the war against Ukraine was approved on the 18th of January, and the initial plan to seize Ukraine was supposed to start the 20th of February and end on the 6th of March. And basically it shows all the plans. It shows the troops involved, shows destinations, and then everything's all laid out right here in the cover sheet. Again, I talked about Mariupol being basically cut off, and this is what happened in the center of town earlier today, that Kherson has 300,000 people. So so Russia taking control of that city is significant, but they've been going back and forth here in Mariupol for a few days. And this, get back.
Стреляют, запугивают. У нас люди ничего не боятся. Руки трусятся, ё-моё.
So Russian soldiers firing on unarmed civilians. Again, that was in I said Mariupol. That's not where it was. Melitopol. Melitopol. After electricity had been cut for over 3 days, the crowd kept going forward. This is from Busha, and this is a column of tanks and various. You can see a fuel tanker back here. You can see treaded vehicles here, a tank here. And basically, these were all taken out and burnt with Molotov cocktails made by the citizens. And I want to get rid of that. Again, thanks for hanging with me. News done differently here. I talked about the 6,700 arrests that have been made in Russia for protests. That's across the country. And these are little kids, 5 to or 7 to 12 years old. And they were basically, they had flowers and signs that say no war. So, and they were arrested for expressing those beliefs. So while we don't tell you what to think or how to think, it's clear that certain governments around the world certainly want to tell you what to think and how to think. Okay, this happened actually last night, and the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Regional Police Department in Kharkiv getting hit last night, as well as the ministry next door. This I found very, very interesting. China has told its citizens here in the United States to pay close attention to security. I don't know if it's to their security or to the United States security. Russian soldiers, their supply lines are not working, so they are looting stores. See him back here stealing all the cash. So again, just showing you things that the mainstream media is not going to show you, showing you things, talking about things the mainstream media is not going to talk about. You're probably not going to hear about martial law in Russia until it happens. Mexico declines to impose sanctions on Russia, and I know I've covered these before, but they're worth touching on one more time, in my opinion here. Mass production of Molotov cocktails. And when I say it's in mass production, check this out. Amazing. And that's being done all across Ukraine. Now, same situation, but people looking at different angles. While the Molotov cocktail is a freedom fighter fighting for self-defense in Ukraine, he's a terrorist attack. He's a militant terrorist if he's in Palestine using the same weapon. Just something to think about. Just something to think about. One person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. And again, this is the, I want to say that thermobaric. Russian advisory to Indian students in Ukraine warns against racism that Indians may face. A lot of racism going on at the border between Ukraine and Poland. Poland blaming it on Ukraine, Ukraine blaming it on Poland. From my understanding, it has gotten better in the past 24 hours. It should have never gotten to that place. And it got to the place that here's what India started telling their people to do. Due to the rise of far-right Ukrainian-backed militants' violence, please, for the sake of your life and safety, consider contacting the Russian military forces. Russia will save you from racism and violence. Humanitarian corridors will be open soon. So we're getting a lot of information from this, okay? Russia thought they were just going to roll in and there would be corridors opened and Indians would be on the side of Russia, okay? And this government document to the citizens of India seemed to show me that the Indian government is leaning towards the side of Russia. So is that good, bad, happy, or sad? That's up to you. Just giving you something to think about. Let's take one final look here at Flight Tracker. And we see Forte 10 is still up right here. And we have some new activity. Homer 41, that's going to be a big body United States surveillance plane. And again, coming from Sicily, Budapest, checked out the Black Sea, and now looks like heading towards probably this airspace right in here, maybe on a circular monitoring. And we also have another and this one is another big US stratotanker right up here circling, as we've seen many times in the past. So we got Forte 10 here. We've got this stratotanker here, and then we've got Homer 41 down here. A lot of eyes in the sky, and those are just the ones that we know about. So what is this? Small plane that took off from Berlin. Okay, looks like doesn't have a destination logged. So, okay. And our final story. Tomorrow, as I said, if Ukrainian intelligence is correct, tomorrow, the 4th of March in Russia. So it will be like tomorrow after 5 p.m. Supposedly, if not sooner, martial law is going to be put into effect in Russia. Basically, as far as ratcheting things up, what they've done so far has not got the United States involved in a war. If that's their goal, they have to keep ratcheting up. Most likely a cyber attack attempt on the United States would be probably the most effective thing they could possibly do to us over here. There are things they can do over there to American assets as well as American allies to try to draw us in. If nothing else, look for that to be happening in the next 12 to 18 hours before we come back on here again. Look for something to happen that Russia is continually poking, trying to prod, trying to get a tipping point to where we act. If we don't act and he keeps ratcheting it up, we're running out of options. And we know that Russia has placed its nuclear defense systems on highest alert. What's that really mean? Well, this is according to Reuters. Who decides to launch the Russian nuclear weapons? 2020 document called Basic Principles of the State Policy of the Russian Federation of Nuclear Deterrence says the Russian president takes the decision to use nuclear weapons. A small briefcase known as the Shaget is kept close to the president at all times, linking him to the command and control network of Russia's strategic nuclear forces. The Shaget does not contain a nuclear launch button, but rather transmits launch orders to the Central Military Command, otherwise known as the General Staff. If Putin gives a launch order, what happens? The Russian General Staff has access to the launch codes and has two methods of launching nuclear warheads. It can send authorization codes to the individual weapon commanders who would then execute the launch procedures. The second option is known as perimeter, which allows the General Staff to directly initiate the launch of land-based missiles, bypassing all immediate command posts. Land-based missiles only, not the ones on strategic bombers or on nuclear armed submarines. This is what I had heard previously, was that his high alert, when he said they were going to go to high alert, it basically said that and let me go down. It basically said that the first order or the first option or the line of communications had been open, and they are basically just waiting for the go order, is what it meant when they escalated. Hold on. The phrase enhanced or special combat duty does not appear in Russia's nuclear doctrine. Okay. So when he says that they are putting them, again, let's look at his words, that they're putting them on high alert, and the terms he actually uses himself are not terms that are normally associated with the nuclear launch systems that Russia has employed. The phrase enhanced or special combat duty does not appear. So a lot of experts are puzzled over what it might mean. And so we go to United States still has not seen any muscle movements. Okay. By that, it means you're not seeing a whole lot of more force deployment or anything like that. But in all honesty, if you read through the rest of the article, you're going to find out they really don't know. They really don't know. They think they know what could happen, but they really don't know. And limited nuclear deployment. Look for Putin to cross the line. Look for a martial law order, basically locking down Russia and putting it all under military rule. Something we talked about might happen here in the United States as we faced off over whether Black people should be treated equally or not. And sadly, that divide is not yet fully or even beginning to heal. So while last night's State of the Union said the State of the Union is strong, we're a very divided country, and one wrong move could set us off. So I do agree with Joe Biden that we need to really put our differences aside in this particular moment, albeit probably temporary. We need to do so because what's coming, what's potentially coming to the world is all going to be decided by one person. What happens throughout the entire world is going to be decided by one person, Vladimir Putin, who could possibly have a fatal disease. And his nuclear weapons are at the ready. And what's to stop him from just going, I'm going to die very soon. Why should I care what happens with anybody else? Not all of us are like that, thankfully. Most of us aren't like that, but there are some that are like that. And when you elect a person like that to lead your country, the Russians really didn't have a choice. We've always had a choice. Let's always make sure that even though we're choosing sometimes the best of two evils, let's always try to choose the best. And let's try to maybe sometime stop hating each other and start talking to each other and thinking as a collective. How do we change things? How do we make things better? How do we politically get the people's voice back into the people's house? Because you can't do it by overrunning it. January 6th proved that. We got to do it politically. And we can if we would unite, if we would organize, if we would be smart. We can do it with write-in ballots and bypass both political parties if we were able to get enough people together. It's a pipe dream. But nonetheless, I will always say that, we ought to have a human party, a Republican Party, a Democratic Party, and a human party, a party that's purpose is to advance humanity and human beings, and that recognizes we are all human beings. Maybe I just founded it. We are. My word of the year, humankind. Be more humane and be kind, because we are one race, the human race. This is the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. It's news done differently. We'll be on tomorrow afternoon with another recorded episode. Chris and I are going to have a conversation. If you have questions you want me to ask Chris, put them in the comments or email me at americandufus@gmail.com. And make sure you hit the like, subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, hit the notification bell to let you know when we're going to be back on, especially when we're going to be back on live. So, because as soon as I get things figured out, we'll be back doing this live. So thank you for your patience. thank you for watching through all of this. A lot to talk about, and it's just we're gonna have a lot to talk about over the next few days, and until this conflict ends. My hope is that one of those, I've said this before, our best hope is that he's taken out internally. So my hope is that somebody tries to collect that $1 million bounty. I can't believe I'm supporting putting a bounty on somebody's head, but in this case, it's better off for all of humanity, in my opinion. Just my opinion, not telling you what to think or how to think, just giving you things to think about. The American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. It is a dark world. Do try to be a light. I love you all. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace to each and every one of you. Namaste. Shalom. Salam. Blessings upon you and yours. And until next time, it is the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Thank you so very much for watching.